What in the hell is going on, everyone? Nick Neon here, and I'm on the way to a place where a pretty brutal murder happened in the past, in the 1940s. There were two killers that were known as the Lonely Heart Killers, Raymond Fernandez and Martha Beck. And this house is in Valley Stream, New York, which is right when you get into Long Island from Queens. And back in 1949, Raymond Fernandez and Martha Beck murdered a woman by the name of Janet Fay, where I believe Martha Beck struck her with a hammer to the head multiple times. And after they committed the murder, Fernandez and Martha Beck both fled to Michigan. So we're going to the actual house in Valley Stream where this happened, all the way back in the 1940s. Still looks pretty the same today. And I'm going to show you a picture from the 40s, because there's one picture that exists from then. And I'm going to compare it with the house today. And you'll see how it's very, very, very similar. Not much has changed about it in terms of window placement and whatnot. So we'll line those up. So just to give you a little quick history on these two psychopaths. Martha Beck was a heavy-set woman. And the reason why they called them the Lonely Hearts murderers is because they met through a dating ad service called the Lonely Hearts, where I guess you can write and look for singles to meet. I guess like the 1940s version of Plenty of Fish, I guess. And they meet each other, and it turns out that Raymond Fernandez was the type to meet women and then take advantage of them and everything they got. So their money, houses, jewelry, stuff like that. He would meet them and just milk them dry pretty much. When he meets Martha Beck, she ends up helping him out and poses as his sister, and meets these single women and widows and whatnot, and not only do they take advantage of them, but they end up killing them as well. Eventually, they are arrested, convicted of all these murders, because they murdered more than one person, definitely. And they're sentenced to Sing Sing prison, which is upstate New York, and they're both executed by the electric chair. So the house is actually on Adeline Place, which is actually off of Sunrise Highway. Sunrise Highway is the main road that drives through Long Island from west to east. So I'm just doing a turnaround right here, and Adeline Place will be on the right here. And the house should be on the right. Oh, there it is. That second house on the right here. So I went to the end of the block and turned around, and it's gonna be on my left over here. That house right there. There it is. This is where Raymond Fernandez and Martha Beck both lived. And I believe they lived in the upstairs portion of it. They rented out the upstairs. Now, if you look at this old photo, you can see that it looks pretty much the same. And the way you can tell that this old photo is from the 1940s is by that car that's sitting there on the right in the driveway. But the window placement and everything, pretty much the same. Doesn't really look like they added much to it. Now, this is the house that they killed that woman Fay in. And then after they fled this house and went to Michigan, they murdered a woman and her 2-year-old daughter, and they buried them in the basement. And when the friends and family of the lady and the woman who knew her all complained they haven't seen her, and that the last people to see her was the Lonely Hearts Killers, they went and knocked on the door and arrested them at that place in Michigan. Now when they got arrested, the death penalty was allowed in New York at the time. But in Michigan, I believe it wasn't. So what they did was they got charged for the murder of Fay in this house. The murder that took place in this house. And that was how they were able to get them executed. Yeah. So, nice little bit of history that not many people around here know about. It's a shame. Saying that these two psychopaths in this house murdered that woman to death by knocking her in with a hammer. Insane. All right. So before they were living in this place in Valley Stream, they were living in a place in New York City in one of the 5 boroughs. I believe it was either in Queens or Brooklyn. And I believe they committed a murder over there too, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not too sure. Don't quote me on it. You're gonna have to, look it up and do some research if you'd like. You can read the whole thing online. But after they moved to Valley Stream, that's when Fernandez meets Janet Fay from the Lonely Hearts ads, and they meet in Albany on New Year's Eve 1948, December 31st. And then the murder happens in the Valley Stream house. They bring Janet Fay back to this house in Valley Stream, and the murder happens in that house on January 4th, 1949. I find it insane how they did what they did, especially when the last murder they committed, when they killed that woman and her 2-year-old daughter. Basically, he shot the woman to death, and then Martha Beck got tired of listening to the baby 2-year-old cry for a couple days straight, so she actually drowned her a couple days later, and they buried them both in the basement, and that was the end of both of them. One thing I never understood is there's a movie that you could watch based on this killer couple, and it stars Jared Leto as Raymond Fernandez and Salma Hayek as Martha Beck, and that I never understood because Salma Hayek is smoking. And the real life Martha Beck was not the most attractive woman by any measure. They don't even look alike, no comparison, and I don't understand how they came upon Salma Hayek to be the casting of Martha Beck. At least make them, look somewhat similar. Salma Hayek being a baddie and Martha Beck just being this big, nothing against big girls, but it wasn't the most attractive one, you know what I mean? So, I never got that. But thank you for watching my video. I'm happy you can enjoy seeing a place you've probably never seen before. And stay tuned for the next one. Comment down below. Subscribe. Doesn't hurt.